Good morning. It is not even 7:30. I've already been up for ages. I've just run a kid to work. I've not yet had any caffeine, so we're in a dangerous position. I am going to go to Starbucks, and yes, I've said many times that Starbucks coffee is atrocious, and it absolutely is. However, I want something sweet, and I want something caffeinated, and I want it now, so we're here. And I'm hoping that it's not too bad. I just need to be a little bit strategic in what I order. Anyway, let's go on in, let's get this coffee, let's get this day going. I've got you balanced on my steering wheel. I don't know if you're gonna fall, hopefully not. First thing first, I got an iced latte on skim. This is exactly what I ordered. 1 second. An iced latte on skim milk with an extra shot of coffee, and then I asked for half the amount of the brown sugar syrup they'd normally put in. So brown sugar iced latte. Right, to which she said for this medium size, there would be 4 pumps of brown sugar. She's like, so you don't want 4? I'm like, absolutely not. Anyway, that's what I got. Standard, right? Explain to me why that was $10. That's extortion, first and foremost. Anyway, let's see. And as I said, brown sugar iced latte, extra shot of coffee, half the brown sugar syrup that they would normally put in. Which, if you're putting in 4 pumps, that's wild. Anyway. It's actually not too bad. Certainly not worth $10, but it's not too bad. I want to know, like, when did coffee get so expensive? It's a little bit on the bitter side. Such is my need for coffee, I will drink it. What are you gonna do? Anyway, now it is time to head home. I want to wash my sheets today. I want to get a bit of housework done. I need to pick a new book because I finished my book last night. That was book 5 for the year. I'd like to knock another one over before the end of January, which would mean 6 books for the month, which is good. But yeah, so I need to pick another book. I've got a little bit of housework to do. I think I want to make a loaf of bread. Dinner tonight is, I want to do some sort of, I'm craving a really creamy pasta with chicken. I'm pretty sure I've got sun-dried tomatoes in my pantry, so I'm thinking something along the lines of like a marry me chicken, kinda. We'll see. But yeah, that's where we're at so far. Let's go home. Let's do the thing. I think we might get some pancetta for our pasta. Another parmesan too, I think. The other thing I need to get is a thing of pasta because I don't have any like nice pasta at home. Okay. I'm thinking this is the one we're going to go for. Oh, we've got this one. Decisions. Absolutely nothing, in my opinion. Open up these curtains. Absolutely nothing says luxury more than that fresh sheet girl. There is nothing better than getting into bed at night with fresh sheets. Nothing. So that's what we're going for tonight. That, and you know, you should be washing your sheets every week. So here we are, washing our sheets. Thankfully, most of my housework I did yesterday, so there's not a huge amount that I actually need to do today, which is nice. But I figured I'll get the sheets on, and then I think I might do just a very quick loaf of bread. Just my no need, ridiculously easy bread. It's very, very forgiving, very unfaffy, which is what I like. It'll just sit on the bench rising for a couple of hours, and then I will chuck it in the cast iron pot and she'll go on in the oven. But I think that paired with the creamy pasta that I'm going to do for dinner tonight will be excellent. Really, that's just what I feel like. I feel like creamy pasta, and since I'm the one cooking dinner, I get to decide then, right? That's what I feel like. I also picked up, when I was at Spud Shed, I got a little thing of pancetta, because that's always nice to chuck in a nice creamy pasta, in my opinion. Nice thing of pancetta. So I've got that. And I've got to pull chicken out of the freezer. That is something I need to do. I need to pull chicken out of the freezer before I forget, and then it won't defrost in time, and then I'm going to have to come up with plan B. And I hate coming up with a plan B when I already have a solid plan A. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, what are you going to do? So that's what I need to do today. I'm also going to do the quilt cover, just because I think it's probably been, I want to say 2 weeks since I've done the quilt cover, but it may be 3. I can't remember. Anyway, let's go get these sheets on. One good thing about having 3 teenagers in the house is we bought a really big washing machine. Like, she's a 14 kilo beast of a thing, which means it will hold my whole set of Super King sheets plus the quilt cover all in one load, which is bloody magic in my opinion, because I hate doing 2 separate loads. I said I was going to do a loaf of my bread. I figured I better do that before the day gets away on me. So we want 3, this is just very simple, no knead bread. 3 cups of, I've just got bread flour. Then I want 2 teaspoons of instant yeast. And then 2 teaspoons of salt. And then you do 1.5 cups of water, warm water. But you may find it's not enough. You may need to add a bit more. You may need to add a bit more flour. You want the dough to be wet enough that you can't knead it. Actually, that was not quite half. So it's not going to be a kneadable dough, if that makes sense. And then all I do is just with the back of a wooden spoon is how I mix it. And then once you've got it to the consistency that you want, cover it with cling wrap. Definitely needs more. Cover it with cling wrap and let it sit on the bench until it's doubled in size. It's honestly just so that simple. On a super hot day, it'll double in like an hour. Today, it's like really quite mild. So, might take 2 hours to double. Give or take, we shall see. But it becomes like quite a wet dough. And as you can see, we're still, we actually can't see, but still nowhere near where we want it to be. So I think we're getting there. We're almost there. I feel like this will be closer to 2 cups of water. But as I said, you've really just got to gauge it. Yeah. So that's kind of what it looks like. Super sticky, which is fine. And now I'm just going to cover it in cling wrap. Let it sit on the bench and we're done. I also think today I might do a batch of my bickies, like super loaded chocolate chip ones. So I might leave the butter out, let that come up to room temperature in an hour or so. I think we might make some cookies. That sounds like fun. And a nice little sweet treat to have for the week. It's definitely time for a coffee. We're trying this drip coffee again. Well, not we, me trying this again because just trying to be a little bit more healthier. And 2 or 3 coffees, full milk, that's a lot of calories. Anyway, there is a teaspoon of sugar in this, and now I'm just going to add a dash of milk. Right, pretty good. Yay for coffee. I said I was going to make cookies today, and one thing, if you say something like that to my kids, they are unlikely to forget you've said it. So if I don't deliver, I'm going to be in trouble. I'm just going to weigh out. I've weighed out all my ingredients except for the butter, but I need 250 grams of butter, which is just going to be essentially half of this big block. A little bit too much. Still a bit much. There we go. And first, something I always do, I don't know where I saw it, but I've done it for as long as I can remember when I've made biscuits, is it with just the butter, nothing else that's at room temperature. Put it in your stand mixer, and for a couple of minutes, just beat it. Nothing else. For a good 2 to 3 minutes, it'll become quite light and fluffy, but don't do anything else to that butter. Don't put anything in it until you've beat it for a couple of minutes in your stand mixer. I don't know why, but I know I've always done it. Right, so this has been going probably for about 3 or 4 minutes, but that is what it turns into. Like this super gorgeous whipped butter. It's super light, super fluffy. I don't know why I've always done it like that. I just always have. I must have read it somewhere, but hey, it works. What I think I might do is I might actually bring you guys around here. Hang on. Hello. Right, is that good there? Yeah, that'd be fine. Okay, next in here I've got a mixture of brown and white sugar. In it goes. These are not health conscious. And what you want to do is beat these until you've got a creamy butter and sugar mixture. So again, this will probably be another couple of minutes as well. When you're about halfway through with your sugar and butter, just stop it and scrape down the edges and the bottom of your bowl, because you will get stuff that sticks to the bottom and to the side. So make sure you scrape it down when you're about halfway, and then go back in and do it again. Alrighty, our butter and sugar is all good, so I'm just going to give it another really good scrape down. Because again, you want to make sure everything's off the bottom and the sides. Now we're going to add in our 2 eggs and our vanilla. Now, as per usual with me, guys, vanilla is never measured, not in the regular sense. It is a measure with your heart situation. I am always of the opinion that more is more when it comes to vanilla, because it is my favorite scent, favorite flavor, favorite everything. So 2 eggs are in, as well as your vanilla. Give it another good mix until everything's incorporated. Probably not for long, 30 seconds to a minute. This bit doesn't take long, but we are actually almost done, believe it or not. These are really simple, but super delicious. We are all mixed. So that's all of our wet ingredients done. Again, scrape the bottom of the sides. And I'm very repetitive today, aren't I? Very repetitive. I'm also not doing my usual meal prep today because I've got enough leftovers from dinner last night and tonight that I just don't feel like I need to. So that's nice. Right, now in here is my plain flour, baking soda and baking powder. That is all going to go in. Now, this is going to make one hell of a mess. I'm yet to work out a way to avoid it. But all I do is I start it very slowly. It will puff up. I think it's the first time it hasn't. And I just do it quite slowly until you can see it's all coming together. Like kind of now. And now it's all together. You can hear the girls working hard. Right. 600 grams of choc chips. I've got a combination of dark milk and white. They go in. This just gets a really quick mix to incorporate everything together, and that's your cookie dough done. Super easy. Super easy. Righto, that's that. I'll bring you back over to the other bench and I weigh them out so that they're all the same so they cook evenly. So I'll bring you back to the bench and I'll show you how. So this is another one of those things that I do because I'm certain I've read it somewhere, but I can't remember where, but I'm not sure why. But I weigh out my dough balls. That's not the weird thing. And the weird thing is that they go in the freezer. Like, you don't cook them. I'm gonna do 90 grams. So 90 gram biscuits. You make your dough balls just like that. And then they go in the freezer. Actually, to be honest with you, these will just go anywhere between 85 and 90. And then what you do is you sit them in the freezer, like once you've like done this part, like weighed them all out and turned them into like individual balls, if you will. No giggling. You just let them sit in the freezer, probably for about 2 hours, an hour, 2 hours, just to sort of really solidify. And then you bake them from frozen. Do not defrost them, then bake them. I mean, you can. I just never do. And the other thing you can do is once these are frozen, you don't actually have to bake them. You can put them into Ziploc bags and store them in the freezer. So you've just essentially got cookie dough balls in the freezer, and you can just whack out 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or however many you want at a time. So that's always good. I always have a supply of these in the freezer, and the kids know that they can just whack one in the oven and they're easy. And then you just cook them on 170. From frozen, it's typically about anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes. But at 170, you do not want your oven too hot for this. Has to be controlled. and you want it to not cook too fast, because these are big, like the center needs to cook as well, hence why you do it lower and slower as opposed to a super hot oven that's going to cook the outside really quick, but then you're going to be left with raw cookie dough on the inside. And hey, that might be your thing, but just bear in mind that this has raw egg in it, so that may not be your thing. Anyway, I am going to continue doing this. I've also got the oven preheating for our loaf of bread. That's going to go in just a minute because that's almost done preheating. But what I'll do is I'll just get these all done and into the freezer, and then I'll move on to the bread. But I shall come back when this is all done. All the cookie dough balls are now all weighed out. This got 23 in total at anywhere between 85 to 90 grams each. So I'm just going to go pop these in the oven. Then it's time to get our bread in. For our bread, this is super simple because I have had the Dutch oven heating in the oven for about half an hour now. The Dutch oven is super hot. So I'm just going to take the lid off. I've already shaped the bread. Sorry, I had my back to you for that. I already shaped the bread and I've got it ready to go on this. But in that goes straight into the hot Dutch oven. I'm going to put the lid on, bake it at 230 for, I'm pretty sure it's half an hour. Ooh, hang on a minute. I'll double check. Give me 1 second. Let me get this back in before it cools down, because that is not what you want. And be careful, because that is roaring hot. I use recipe Tin Eats, recipe for no knead bread. Bake it for 30 minutes with the lid on. Then you take the lid off, bake it for another 12. So I'll set the timer for 30 minutes, then I'll take the lid off, then we're looking good. Oh, and now everyone's absolute favourite part of baking is I've got to wash everything, which is like the least fun thing to do, but got to be done. Got to be done. That is the price you pay for having delicious baked goods in the house. I'm currently having a very productive afternoon while we're waiting for our loaf of bread to cook. What we cook, Mo? Yep. He's currently living his best life. The other one's right there, so don't feel bad for him. He's also living his best life. I realised after I took the lid off, before I did the final 12 minutes of baking, that I forgot to score the top of it. And as a result, it sort of looks a bit funny on the top. Can I do it? This is clean detail, by the way. It looks like that because I forgot to score the top. But look at the underside. Looks so good. Either way, this is just crusty bread to go with a delicious pasta dish. So, despite the fact that she looks a little bit crazy on the top, her whole purpose is to be a soaking up vessel for a creamy pasta sauce. And I think, despite how she looks, she's going to do just fine. Don't touch that, it's hot. I just want to move it off the chopping board and down onto the bench. So, I think she'll be fine. Smells really good in here though. Oh, I love the smell of baking bread. Okay, time to get these bad boys in the oven to start cooking. And here we go. Loaded choc chip cookies straight out of the oven. Absolutely gorgeous. Just let them sit for 10-15 minutes to cool a bit, but also if you crack into them as soon as they're out of the oven, they're super soft, and all they're going to do is fall apart. So leave them for 10-15 before you decide to hook in. But I promise you, these will change your life. Look at those. Thanks for spending the day with me. It was meant to be just spending the morning with me, however it's now 5 to 3, so you've pretty much spent most of the day. Pretty soon I'm going to get stuck into dinner, but yeah, what a productive but also quite lazy Australia Day public holiday I have had on this beautiful Monday. Anyway guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.